Dragon raids. Here, in the kingdom of Riddell, Count Kurbek's territory has faced dragons for many years. The history of the Count's family was the history of battles with dragons. The knights did their best to take on the dragon in front of them, but it flew away. The commander shouted at them to go after it, and to prepare another incantation, but stopped at the shake of a tremor. Dragons were synonymous with disaster, especially the Black Dragon, which has only appeared twice in the history of Riddell. Records from previous history say that multiple towns were completely wiped out from its appearance. Lady Isabel's servant told her they needed to evacuate, but she couldn't, knowing her father and the knights were engaged in battle. As his daughter, it would be unforgivable for her to abandon the people now, even if it meant she perished here in the Kurbek lands. 3 months later, we find Monica napping. She was woken up by Annie's call at her door, bringing her some food to eat. Annie would say hello to Monica's cat Nero while setting the basket down. She then told Monica about how 3 months ago, the eastern border was hit by a dragon raid, and she had heard lots of tarot dragons appeared near the village. Even more scary, the leader of the tarot dragons was the legendary infamous Black Dragon of Worgen. One of the 7 sages was sent out there to deal with it. Of course, the 7 sages were the top 7 mages in the country. Annie glamorized how the youngest of the 7, known as the Silent Witch, drove them all off by herself, while Monica continued to anxiously fidget. Annie rambled on about how the Silent Witch was the only mage around who could use enchanted magecraft. Casting spells without chanting was super cool. Monica suddenly paid Annie, meekly thanking her for always bringing her what she needed. Annie was curious as to how Monica made money, so she answered, "Mathematics?" To which Annie supposed the colleague who had asked for her whereabouts must be a mathematician too. Annie had given him directions to this place. Hearing this, Monica's hand started shaking, and when Lewis Miller tried to tell her, "Long time no see," she shut the door on him. He opened it as she tried to push him back, stuttering while calling him Lewis. He asked that she not refer to him so ridiculously, causing her to apologize and cover herself. After Annie left, he referred to the anxious girl by full title, Lady Monica Everett, the Silent Witch of the 7 Sages. Waiting for her to tidy things up, Lewis described how humans could not manipulate mana without incantations. However, Monica was the one genius who made the impossible possible. This girl, who had hidden herself away in a mountain cabin, was one of the best mages in the kingdom. The story of how she came to master enchanted magecraft was pretty simple. She was extremely shy and got nervous easily. She found it difficult to speak in front of other people. When she studied at Minerva's Mage Training Institute, talking to strangers would cause her to convulse, and she'd be unable to make a sound. In the worst cases, she would vomit or faint. Naturally, there was no way she could perform magic incantations. She was very close to failure. When it occurred to her, that's when she got the idea to just use magic without chanting. Most people would try to overcome their fear of strangers and social anxiety, but her way of thinking soared far off in an unexpected direction, and her talent blossomed. She mastered enchanted spells and quickly rose to become one of the 7 sages. As a fellow sage, Lewis Miller, the barrier mage, told her she was still squandering her talent. He told his servant Rin to activate the soundproof barrier, and everything, even nature around them, was completely silent. Monica expected as much from a high spirit like Rinsbelfried. If only humans could manipulate mana without spells, then she wouldn't have had to perfect enchanted magecraft herself. Lewis then started to get to the point of his visit. He revealed he'd been serving as a bodyguard to the second prince, under secret orders from the king. Despite being a part of the first prince's faction, he had a speculative reason why, but wasn't going to speak on his highness's intentions, since that'd be disrespectful. Felix, the second prince, attended Serendia Academy, a boarding school. Louis felt it'd be easy to infiltrate, but wouldn't make much sense, pointing out that with his reputation and good looks, he wasn't cut out for undercover work. Rins told him not to get too full of himself, but he answered that opinionated maids don't get paid. Duke Clockford, a strong supporter of the second prince, pulled the strings of the academy, so Lewis prepared a combined tracking and communication barrier brooch, with danger detection and low-range physical and magical defense. This brooch and the one he gave Prince Felix were a matching pair, allowing him to monitor Felix's location and movements at all times. Monica questioned the morality of this, since it was spying, to which Lewis answered with the saying, What he doesn't know won't hurt him. The king presented the other brooch to his son under the guise of a present, but it broke the very next day after it was given to him. After devoting an entire week of sleepless, tireless effort, it was gone in just one day. When the brooch shattered, Louis found it so hilarious he couldn't stop laughing. He even endured being apart from his beloved wife in order to craft the piece. Despite Louis's exhaustion, he rallied and rushed to the academy. And when he got there, they just said nothing happened, only that the brooch was broken accidentally. Crushing it, Louis asked if Monica understood what he wanted, but she rapidly shook no. He smiled, saying he wanted her to sneak into the academy and protect Felix in his stead. She tried to refuse, but he cut her off, reminding her that unlike him, she wasn't a part of high society, and even at ceremonies, she kept her hood up and her gaze lowered. No one knew her face. Most importantly, no one would ever suspect such a plain little girl to be one of the 7 sages. She cried, but there would be no buts. Her magic was perfect for providing discreet protection. She whined about not wanting to, saying she was already busy with paperwork and had just slayed a dragon last month. However, Louis had slain 10 in that same time. So what did that matter? She was a 7th sage. There were some jobs only she could handle. She tried to reason that she only joined as a spare, but Louis refused to let her get away. So she accepted. He then relayed the specifics. A few years ago, at the monastery in Count Kerbeck's territory, there was a girl with no family. The former Countess of Kerbeck saw a likeness of her deceased husband in the girl and decided to adopt her. The girl was cherished by the former Countess and had a happy upbringing. However, the Countess was struck down by a dreadful illness and passed away. The girl, having lost her guardian, was resented by the cruel Count's daughter and forced to work as a servant. Then, when that Count's daughter was accepted into the academy, the girl was forced to go as her attendant. Monica felt bad for the poor girl, and Louis reiterated that was right. Monica would be playing the role of that poor girl. When Louis left, Monica sat in the same spot, completely brain-broken. Nero, her familiar, spoke to her in a boyish voice. He was telling her to look at his paws that she loved, eventually snapping her out of her daze, to transitioning into a full meltdown. He suggested if it bothered her so much, she could just run away. But she knew that'd never work, because Louis would chase her no matter how far she went. She's seen the hard calluses on his knuckles under his gloves. That's when Nero remembered Louis was known as the guardian of the underworld. He then pointed out that on the bright side, the prince must at least be nice. With Nero being a book lover, he knew that's what was written in Dustin Gunther's book. Monica had no idea though. Even having to attend official events as a sage, she always kept her eyes shut through them and never conversed with anyone. She later imagined a whimsical song about numerous piggies being sold in the winter, and in reality, she had counted up to 317,811 piggies. Arriving at Louis's estate, he tried to embrace his beloved Rosalie, but she just ignored him to observe Monica in fine detail. We learned Monica is 16, and while Rosalie had no idea who Monica was, she decided to take care of her, leaving Louis to say, "Wouldn't it be nice if you welcomed your husband when he came home?" Monica was almost presentable now. She was going to meet Count Kerbeck's daughter. The Count knew she was going to be under alias, and was willing to play along for the Silent Witch, since she saved his domain from the Black Dragon. Isabel greeted Monica with the snooty anime rich girl. Oh ho ho ho! She pointed out that Monica was as shabby as ever, and that her name was recorded among the lowest ranks of Count Kerbeck's family. She laughed, calling that terribly embarrassing. She asked how her performance was. She'd been practicing her villainous noble lady impression every single day for a while. She apologized and graced herself before the honorable Lady Silent Witch, and expressed her deep gratitude to Monica for protecting their domain. Monica was shy, but Isabel was fine with it, knowing Monica was stronger and braver than anyone. We turned back to the domain on fire, as Monica thanked her maid for serving their family for years. She tried to release Agatha, but the maid insisted on accompanying her to the very end. A boy then came to inform them that the Silent Witch just defeated the Black Dragon all by herself, and there were 0 casualties. Isabel broke down in tears of relief. Then suddenly, the remaining tarot dragons flew overhead and started wreaking havoc on the town. And oh no, one of them was opening its jaws right at Isabel, but would be killed instantly by a powerful bolt. Monica noticed the shining light and a gate emerging from a spell casted with no chanting. The genius, silent witch, Monica Everett, rained a flurry of light barrage, taking out the rest of the tarot dragons with quick work, on top of using wind to carry them to save the town from harm. Then, she disappeared without a word. Isabel thought she was so cool. Now knowing Monica was on a mission to infiltrate Serendia Academy, Isabel was going to bully her endlessly, so no one would suspect her. She told Monica not to worry, and to only focus on protecting His Highness. At a young age, Monica was extremely happy to receive measuring tape as a gift from her father. She would measure everything she could find in the room, and she always had so much fun. She took the measuring tape with her everywhere, using it so often, the markings eventually rubbed off. Through this, she discovered the world was full of numbers, and the same went for humans. That's what her father would tell her anyway. Embracing her role as a villainous, noble lady, Isabel said she couldn't be in the same room as a grubby commoner like Monica. The headmaster apologized because he had assumed they were relatives. Prior to this, Monica was really nervous about sharing a room with someone, but Isabel told her not to worry. She would take care of it with the true flair of a villainous lady. Swaying her body like a damsel in distress, Isabel said, "I simply cannot bear it," dramatically falling to the ground. The headmaster became worried, offering to do anything to help. She knew she'd won. Isabel then suggested the attic room, claiming it was better suited for the likes of Monica. And if the attic room was taken, she wanted Monica put in the stables with the horses. She couldn't care less. Monica was utterly stunned by Isabel's acting, and honestly, it's pretty fun to watch. Isabel is definitely my favorite character now. Meanwhile, Student Council Treasurer Aaron O'Brien is brought before the Student Council President and the other members. Evidence of tampering had been found in the account books, and now Aaron was scared stiff, unable to respond. Elliot Howard claimed it had happened over 30 times from what he checked. Bridget Graham asked if money from the special budget had been misused as well. The General Affairs Officer, Neil Clay Maywood, confirmed her question, saying that they were still reviewing, but combined with the regular budget, it may be closer to 50 occurrences. Amid all this, the council vice president, Cyril Ashley, remained silent. Aaron was selected for the student council because Felix's grandfather, Duke Clockford, put in a recommendation. Felix imagined his grandfather would lose faith in Aaron's father after this incident. Feeling anxious and scared, Aaron told himself it was fine, believing he would take care of it somehow. But now he questioned why he couldn't remember who he was talking about. Felix then told him that his foolishness would drag the house of Count Stale through the mud. Frustrated, Aaron told him to shut up, saying he was just a lapdog of the Duke, royal in name only. As he rushed to attack Felix, Cyril would grab him and cast a spell to freeze his feet in place, and then emphasized that such insolence toward His Highness was worthy of death. Felix calmed down, and Cyril apologized for acting out of turn. After thanking Cyril for taking care of him, Felix told Aaron he was suspended until a formal expulsion notice was issued. Aaron would have to reflect on his foolishness and being outsmarted by a mere lapdog of the Duke. Outside the headmaster's office, Isabel was sad because she wanted to be roommates with Monica so they could have secret midnight tea parties. But she knew she couldn't get in the way of Monica's mission. They suddenly saw Aaron yelling to be let go, insisting he did nothing while being dragged out of the council room. Isabel recognized who Aaron was because she had seen him at social gatherings before. She also recognized Lord Elliot, who was from the house of Count Dasfee. However, she didn't know Cyril. But since he wore a student council officer badge, she assumed he was from a distinguished family too. Watching her reactions, Monica thought that Isabel was more suited for this undercover job than she was. Monica was later asked to introduce herself to her classmates, but her shyness wouldn't let her utter a single word. The teacher, High Mage Victor Thornley, told her she was at a prestigious academy that housed the country's most elite, and the students there were expected to demonstrate a proper sense of decorum and cultural sophistication. Monica looked at the whole class with fear as it became bigger. She recalled how her former classmates would mock her for her shyness, which left her even more scared to speak. Victor then told her to go to her seat. Lana Colette approached her and asked why she was wearing her hair in braids. Monica apparently didn't know any other styles, and the other girls in the class mocked her in hushed whispers for not having a maid and wearing shabby clothes. Lana ignored the side comments, asking Monica where she grew up, to which she replied, Leonic. Lana was intrigued and asked what was trendy in the city, which made Monica more uneasy. She didn't really know about that kind of thing, but that didn't stop Lana from bringing up more to converse about. she would show Monica the latest lipstick, which was from the royal capital. Their classmates then went further to call Lana a nouveau rich baron's daughter, adding that she was bragging to a country bumpkin. They even claimed she bought her title with money and was desperate to make a friend. But Lana ignored them once again. She would then tend to Monica's hair, causing her to jolt. She carefully combed Monica's hair and tied it with a ribbon. Afterward, she told Monica it was easy to make, letting her know she could do it herself. As she left, Monica tried to talk to her, but no words left her mouth. Monica would then stare at herself in the mirror, thinking about how she couldn't utter a single word to thank Lana. She later started searching for Felix. Since he was the student council president, if she could get close to the student council room, maybe she could see his face. But with so many people on campus, it was impossible for her. If she didn't hurry up and start guarding the prince, Louis would unleash his wrath upon her, and just the thought of that caused her to shriek, "I'm sorry, I'll do my best," like some schizo in front of the other students. She decided to look for a quiet place where she could have some nuts for lunch, and walking through a peaceful, beautiful garden, she found Prince Felix reading a book by a fountain. His shining glimmer made her a little red, so she decided to back away. Elliot grabbed her as she tried to leave, mistaking the nuts in her pocket for a weapon. When she tried to explain, he didn't believe anyone would actually put their lunch in their pocket. He accused Monica of following them and asked who she worked for. However, she was too frightened to answer and tripped, causing the nuts to fall out of her pocket. Elliot believed she was working with Aaron, but Felix would tell him to let her go, shushing him before he revealed too much. While helping Monica pick up her lunch, Felix gently asked if she was the second-year transfer student he had heard about, and recalled her name, uttering Monica Norton. She shook her head in affirmation with watery eyes, and he could see clearly she wasn't an assassin, but more akin to a baby squirrel who got lost and wandered here by mistake. He then apologized for interrupting her lunch, handing all of her nuts back. Monica answered, thank, but before she could complete it, Felix quickly grabbed her and used his body as a shield to protect her from a falling vase. But with Monica's quick reflexes, she cast wind magic to deflect the vase before it could land on them. Elliot quickly rushed off to find the culprit, and Monica was now in close range of Prince Felix's handsome face. He was too pretty that she passed out on the spot where her soul left her body. We go back to when she was a helpless kid. She counted numbers as a man threw bottles at her, saying he was taking the fall, all thanks to her idiot father. The man warned her not to go blurting out weird stuff in public, ever again. Monica would quickly wake up from that dreadful nightmare. There, she met Selma Kirsch, her class's health committee representative. As Selma caressed her disheveled hair, Monica couldn't help but notice how beautiful her hands were. She then told Monica she could head to her dorm once she had calmed down. Monica returned to the attic and cried to Nero that this mission was impossible. She had messed up from day one. Nero would advise her to just tamper with people's memories if she were about to mess up, but she just couldn't, feeling it wasn't right to use mind manipulation magecraft for things like that. The spell could cause memory loss or leave someone in a delirious state. Monica recalled a few people that were really nice to her today, feeling bad that she still couldn't say thank you properly. Nero told her to leave it to him, which scared her. He suddenly transformed into human form, causing Monica to beg him to change back. However, he enjoyed this, as he told her to say, "Thank you, Lord Nero," before pouncing on her like the cat boy he was. Suddenly, he noticed someone shady outside the window. Monica then used magecraft to enhance her sight, allowing her to see someone in the garden of the boys' dormitory. Nero wondered if this person was an assassin, and asked if they should go after him. Monica abruptly told him that she had met Felix earlier. She then remembered her younger days, when she asked her father if his research would be finished after his calculations were done. He always answered that what she saw was just a small part of it, and the research may turn out to be useless. It could even be difficult for him to finish it during his lifetime. The next morning, she poured herself a hot cup of tea and sat down to dress her hair. She had never paid much attention to her hair before, and asked Nero if there was something that wasn't pointless to him. He felt they were talking about philosophy, and boasted about his intelligence for knowing what philosophy was. Monica praised him as he requested, and he pointed out that her praises weren't pointless to him. He quoted Dustin Gunther, saying, "Life is full of pointless things, so why not enjoy them to the fullest?" At that moment, Monica recalled her father telling her that the tougher the challenge, the more fun it is, and felt she needed to give herself a tougher challenge. In class, she approached Lana, jittering through each word, saying that she tried to make her hair the way Lana did for her the other day. She tried returning the ribbon. while thanking Lana for the previous day, but Lana rejected it, saying that hairstyle wasn't cool anymore, as a way to avoid taking the ribbon back. Monica then requested that she teach her how to do it, shrieking internally over if she was approaching too rudely, but Lana agreed. As Lana combed her hair, she explained the comb was made by a craftsman from Animal, bringing up how it was tastefully studded with little gemstones. Lana stopped midway, feeling her stories were boring. After all, her family was nouveau riche, so she had nothing special to say. Monica then said people also told her that her stories were boring because she only talked about numbers, something Lana found funny. Elliot then entered the class, and as soon as Monica saw him, she hid, but he clearly watched her hide in the curtains. He commented that she truly was a timid little squirrel as he closed in on her. Then, bringing her to the student council office, she met Prince Felix Riddell, who properly introduced himself. She couldn't believe the person she met yesterday was the second prince, and thanked him for helping her out, and asked why he snuck out of the dorm last night. Elliot was shocked, because this was the first he had heard of this. Monica claimed she saw him from her windows, but Felix replied it could have been someone else who was suspicious. Monica couldn't tell how they looked, because the person was wearing a hood, but their build was like Felix's. She then quickly grabbed chalk and started writing on the board, explaining the hooded boy had the golden ratio. She was good at judging the length of things just by looking at them, and ascribed his features and body measurements with exact details, saying his head had a width-to-height ratio of 1 to 1.618, reiterating it was close to the golden ratio which humans perceived as the most beautiful. Even with clothes on, she could project the position of his navel by the length of his legs, and claimed the person from last night and Felix had upper to lower body ratios divided at the navel that matched this golden ratio. Realizing how much she had rambled, she felt she had messed up, but Felix confirmed her measurements were right. As expected, she really was a harmless little squirrel. Felix believed if she really was an assassin, there's no way she'd do nothing when he was alone, or run her mouth off like that. As for the flower pot incident, Monica said it could have fallen by chance. Felix then explained they decided to confine Aaron to the dorm until his expulsion process was complete. There was also an incident where Felix was nearly crushed by a falling board. Aaron had hinted there was an accomplice, which was why they set a trap in the backyard. Monica then realized she was suspected of being an assassin. Elliot even tried to get her to confess, but she claimed it wasn't her. So, he asked if she would find the real culprit. She had no choice but to accept. Felix left the matter to her, where afterward, she cried while clutching Nero, who pointed out it would be a slight problem since she was considered an assassin when she was supposed to be a bodyguard. Monica wailed, wanting to go back to her hut in the mountain, calling herself a useless recluse. Nero agreed that she was quite a helpless master, and offered to pat her with his paws. While he comforted her, he reminded her that she needed to find the person after the prince. Then, they looked at the flower pot she broke earlier, and she guessed whoever threw it had to be on the top floor. By the stairs, she overheard some girls teasing Selma because Aaron might be leaving school due to a sudden illness. Poor Selma had devoted herself to him, but now their engagement was going to be broken off. Lana saw Monica silently watching and dragged her so they could quickly push past the girls. She politely asked if they could squeeze past, but Caroline Simmons replied, "Your manners have something to be desired," boasting that her family was more prestigious. She said Lana should have greeted her first. Lana simply asked her to move out of the way again, and subtly called her an escaped cow. She implied that Caroline's butt was so big, she couldn't move out of the way. Then Caroline burst out saying, "Who are you calling a cow?" pushing Lana, causing her to back into Monica, who tipped over the stairs. Slowly falling over, Monica's mind raced on whether to use magic, but was concerned it would raise suspicions. She noticed the gradient of the stairs, and thought if she used a protective barrier to flatten the gradient, she would slide down naturally. She then activated her barrier magic, and zipped down the stairs screaming, soon bumping into Cyril. He asked if she was hurt, but she just kept saying sorry over and over. Cyril then lifted her hair and saw her forehead was a bit red. She was surprised that he wasn't angry, and noticed his fingertips were cold, making her think that he was releasing mana unknowingly. Lana came running soon after, scared that Monica might have been hurt. As Cyril asked what the commotion was about, Caroline lied that Lana pushed Monica down the stairs as a joke. Lana refuted this, explaining that Caroline pushed her while Monica was caught in the crossfire. Caroline responded by making it look like Lana was passing the blame, saying that nouveau riche kids have some nerve, and assumed that Cyril would be on her side simply because she was from the house of Count Norn. Monica nervously looked at Cyril and thought about how this was the aristocratic world. When someone high up decided you were wicked, it became the truth, even if the person wasn't at fault. Her lips trembled as she begged for her voice to work. If she didn't say something, Lana would be made to be the villain. Monica wanted anything but that. With her voice shaking, she told Cyril that she simply slipped and it was no one's fault. Lana tried to interject, but Monica ran away too quickly. Arriving at the music room, she heard a girl playing the piano. The girl told her to come back later, but Monica said she left something on the balcony. There, she found 3 flower pots and 1 empty one. The ledge was too high for her, so she used the empty pot as a stool to look over the balcony, confirming that this was where the broken pot was thrown from. Noticing that her gloves had become dirty, she was a little sad because she only had 1 pair, but something suddenly clicked in her head. Monica then asked the girl inside if she had a key to this classroom, and the girl simply answered that Monica would have to submit a request form in the faculty room if she wanted to book the room, and Monica humbly thanked her. Over in the student council office, Elliot complained to Felix, saying that Monica was not an aristocrat by any stretch of the imagination. But he admitted it was better to have her do the snooping than themselves. Felix didn't want Duke Clockford to intervene in the matter, even if they referred to him as the Duke's lapdog. Most of all, he didn't want people to think that Felix Arc-Riddil was incapable of taking on a case of this size. Monica then entered the room, telling the two she knew who the perpetrator was. Meanwhile, Selma was being teased by some girls because her fiancé had left school. They told her she could talk to them about anything. After all, they were friends. Selma thought even if they used her to feel better about themselves, she couldn't give up her title as their friend for anything. She thought that at least, if she had friends, she wouldn't be Selma who had nothing. Shortly, Elliot called her to the student council office. In the office, Felix said Monica had informed him that she was the culprit behind the recent incidents, and he asked Monica to explain. Even though the scene with the sign falling had been tidied up, Monica said she knew what happened with the flower pot. As she started explaining, she excitedly rambled about the speed of the fall and the way the pot shattered. But Felix interjected to stop her from going into unnecessary details. Basically, from her calculations, the pot was dropped from the 4th floor, and she also checked who used the music room at the time. Before she could go further, Selma interrupted, rushedly saying, "I just went to water the plants." Monica then pointed out that they were the same height, which meant she used the empty flower pot as a stool to look over the balcony, and that Selma was also wearing gloves today. But when Monica met her in the infirmary, she noticed Selma wasn't wearing gloves then. The reason being that they got dirty when she moved the flower pot. Selma looked distraught, telling Monica she was wrong. But Monica had also found a pair of dirty gloves in the trash with Selma's initials on them. Selma's anxiousness then led to a wild scream, and she started crashing out, admitting that she was the one behind it all, including the student council budget. So she begged Felix to have mercy on her fiancé, claiming Aaron was being tricked by her all along. She didn't want her fiancé taken from her, a girl who had nothing. After she left, Monica asked Felix what would happen to Selma. He answered that her family deserved the death penalty. After all, this was a royal assassination attempt. Hearing this scared Monica, but he then said it'd be best to have Selma withdraw from the school voluntarily. The way she was willing to give up everything for those she cared about struck a chord with him. With things resolved, Monica lit up, seeing the records on the table. She quickly told Felix that 3 of the numbers didn't match, and he was shocked that she could read the accounting records. Then asked her to help him review them. Monica was exhilarated, especially after being deprived of numbers for so long. So, Felix then appointed her as the student council treasurer, causing her to fall over. Night came, and she was still in shock. Nero used his paws to comfort her, which brought her back to her senses. She cried about becoming the student council treasurer, but Nero felt this would make her job easier. Earlier, Elliot couldn't believe that Felix appointed the Squirrel Girl, but Felix explained to them that Monica was able to review records from the last 5 years in just a couple of hours. Felix asked Monica what she thought about the records, and she was surprised by how sloppy the management was for such a large sum of money. Cyril yelled, "Why you? How dare you talk to His Highness like that?" causing her to shrink back expectantly. She just wanted to go home. That same night, Cyril was going through the records and begrudgingly admitted Monica's work was perfect. He then recognized her handwriting, but felt there was no way it could be what he was thinking of. As he left his study, he felt a sharp pain in his head, and his eyes glowed red, as if he had lost a sense of himself. The next day, Isabel berated Monica loudly as a spectacle for bystanders to hear, for being part of the student council, even breaking the teacups, questioning how she convinced His Highness to let her join. Soon, softly throwing a pillow on the floor, she was proud of her villainous acting. But, with Monica pointing out that she had broken all the teacups, Isabel and Agatha then showed a box filled with new teacups, adding that the ones broken were already chipped in the first place. Isabel then properly congratulated Monica on becoming the student council treasurer. She noticed Monica's new hairstyle and wanted Agatha to do the same for her. But the maid replied that villainesses didn't wear the same hair as the girl they were bullying. However, she promised to give them matching hairstyles during the holidays. In class, Monica's classmates couldn't believe a country bumpkin like her had become the treasurer. Lana confronted her about being a part of the student council, but Monica remained silent. Feeling bad about the previous day, Lana admitted she had provoked Caroline and asked if Monica was alright, which made her happy. Lana also noticed Monica's hair was undone and offered to help her braid it again as a way to apologize. Later on, in the student council room, Prince Felix asked Cyril to teach Monica how to do her job as treasurer, since he was treasurer before. She really wanted someone who was closer in age instead, but Felix insisted Cyril would train her well. Afterwards, Cyril explained how busy a treasurer could get and told her not to leave out the things he listed. The chilly air made her sneeze, so he opened the windows and gave her a scarf to warm up. Due to the cold, Monica confirmed that Cyril was releasing mana from his body somehow. She then noticed the accounting records she had reviewed earlier, and he told her that his advisor, Professor Thornley, would be checking them. She apologized, feeling bad that her review must have given him a lot of extra work. But Cyril said it was just the work that needed to be done. He questioned why she was so jumpy and told her to be proud of her work, saying it was flawless. However, Monica couldn't be proud of herself. She recalled the memory of a boy who believed she always looked down on him. Cyril then let her know that he hated the word can't. He revealed that he had already spoken to some students about the staircase incident and now knew the truth of what had happened, adding that Caroline Simmons had been given a strict warning and would submit a written apology as well. Considering how evasive Monica was, it took him considerable time to actually discover the truth. Monica wondered if there really were people like this among the aristocrats. Cyril then reprimanded her for speaking too softly and urged her to speak louder and more clearly, turning it into a small comedic moment where she went, I'm sorry, causing him to shout, scolding her for adding staccato to her wording. By late evening, as he was heading to Professor Thornley to hand him the accounting documents, he paused, becoming concerned, thinking more and more of his professor. At night, Monica and Nero saw a bird fly into their room, and it transformed into Rin, who told them that Louis had an urgent message. I, Louis Miller, am pleased to announce that I'm going to be a father. This was the last thing Nero needed to know. Rin said this was the most pressing news, but Nero didn't think so. Rin then handed a letter to Monica, where Louis told her to write her most important updates, since she was incompetent at delivering messages verbally. Suddenly, Rin noticed an excessive amount of ice mana coming from behind the boys' dormitory. Cyril stumbled through the forest, desperate to reveal the truth behind the falsified financial records. But then, he fell to his knees, confused, questioning what he was even doing. A sudden surge of mana erupted from his necklace, triggering his ice magic and trapping him in frost pillars. When they arrived, Monica suspected Cyril had mana hyperabsorption, a condition where the body takes in more mana than it can handle. People like that usually wore magical items to release the excess. That's when Monica remembered the brooch Cyril usually wore. Rin confirmed the brooch was indeed supplying Cyril with the mana surrounding him. Nero quickly dashed in to save the day, but as he tried to rip off the brooch, it blasted him away. As the ice continued to grow, Monica put on her cloak and approached Cyril. He uttered he wouldn't hand over the brooch because it was entrusted to him by his father. Cyril attacked with an icicle, but Monica quickly countered with her flames. She was able to neutralize the attacks while still keeping a protective barrier around Cyril's body. Eventually, the ice completely engulfed Cyril as he thought about how his foster father was the only one who accepted him. Then, Monica released a burst of powerful fire magic that shattered the ice and freed him. Looking at Monica, Cyril saw the image of his mother and wondered why she refused to accept him. Cyril's father, who carried the blood of the Marquesas family, didn't work, and he treated his commoner wife violently every day. After he died from his alcohol addiction, Cyril was eager to ease his mother's burden. He was happy to tell her that the House of Marques Hyon wanted to adopt him, but she didn't seem thrilled that he was a child of nobility. Cyril needed to gain her approval, so he decided to work harder for her and for the father who fostered him. When he came to, he saw Monica analyzing the brooch and demanded she return it. Monica placed it on his chest, and he fell unconscious again. Rin then approached, commending her. Monica explained it was fine now, because she added a protective formula to the brooch. Cyril's condition was quite troublesome, but if he handled it properly, it could be quite beneficial to a mage. She then asked Nero to look after him. While running off with Rin, Monica explained that Cyril's condition looked more like mind manipulation than just mana poisoning, like what happened with Aaron and Selma. They arrived at Professor Thornley's door, but before he could scold Monica for being out late, she cut in, asking what he planned to do with the documents in his hands. She then told him not to bother replacing them. She'd already memorized every figure from the ones she reviewed. The student council's financial records had been messy for years, but things changed 5 years ago. That's when the falsification became more sophisticated and the embezzled amounts increased. She pointed out that this shift happened the same year the professor became the council's advisor. Suddenly, Professor Thornley grabbed her arm, stating that magecraft research costed money. He started chanting a mind manipulation spell and attempted to erase her memory. But Monica told him his technique was far from perfect. She broke his spell and began rewriting the formula, something he thought was impossible. Each butterfly that appeared was a magic formula itself to create such a thing without chanting. By the time the professor realized who Monica was, she would engulf him in her spell, and for the next 24 hours, he would drift in an endless dream. Thornley suddenly saw himself in the school halls, recalling that he needed to return the rewritten documents to the student council. Erasing Cyril's memory wasn't enough, so he thought about brainwashing the student council president. Out of nowhere, a pig appeared and started biting the documents. That one pig became two, and before the professor could react, he found himself trapped in Monica's strange little tune about counting piggies as they buried him. Outside, he was foaming at the mouth, and Monica panicked because it was illegal to use mind manipulation magic on others. Rin then told Monica to leave the matter to her, saying, most likely, Lewis will torture or interrogate him and handle the matter properly. The next day, rumors were already spreading. Professor Thornley had been arrested for dabbling in dark magic. When Lana told Monica it was one of the 7 sages who did it, Monica immediately froze in panic. Lana went on to say it was Lewis Miller who made the arrest, and began listing the 7 sages: Barrier Mage, Starseer Witch, Witch of Thorns, Artillery Mage. But before she could finish, Monica interrupted, showing Lana the best she could do with her braids. Felix got word from the Water High Spirit, Will Dianu, his familiar, about Cyril's condition, stating someone carried him back to the boys' dormitory. Will Dianu expressed his suspicions about Monica because they didn't really know who she was. Felix had laid a trap by leaving the keys to the valuable student council materials out in the open, but Monica didn't take the bait. He speculated on if she was an overseer from Duke Clockford, or maybe even a royal guard sent by the king. He joked that she might be an assassin, though Wildenu didn't find it funny. He then reminded the spirit that his life only mattered until the next king was chosen, so he just wanted to enjoy himself a little. In the student council office, Monica fell asleep because she had used up a lot of mana. Cyril then walked in and stared at her momentarily. As he took the feather out of her hands, he noticed her hands were small, just like the ones he felt when he passed out. Felix came in shortly after that, sending Cyril into a panic as he jittered, "Your Highness, it's not what it looks like." He forced Monica awake, and she was glad to see he wasn't cold anymore. Felix gently fed Monica as she dozed off, and to his surprise, she managed to eat while half asleep. In her dream, she was drafting a report to Lewis. Then, she mumbled, "Congratulations on your wife's pregnancy," making it look like she was talking about Cyril. And Felix joked, asking him whose was it. "You should take on the responsibility properly." And now Cyril was flush, frantic because Monica was just speaking nonsense in her sleep. Eventually, Louis received Monica's letter. She congratulated him on the new baby and mentioned she'd become the student council treasurer. He thought she deserved praise for being the first to congratulate him. Still, he hadn't expected her to join the student council. Rin asked why he chose Monica to guard the second prince. Louis deflected the question, asking instead for her opinion of him. Rin then replied he seemed to be venting his frustration on Monica, especially since the prince ruined the barrier he stayed up all night preparing. He then asked for her honest opinion of him, and she answered she'd heard he was a troubled man who enjoyed picking on the weak. However, Louis felt people had him mistaken because he believed bullying the strong was more fun than bullying the weak. Rin then claimed Monica believed she became one of the 7 sages as a last resort, and Louis agreed, recalling how during her interview, she got so nervous she hyperventilated, her eyes rolled back, and she passed out. Still, one thing was certain to him: Monica was a monster. Rin asked if Monica was stronger than him, and Louis simply replied, well, who knows? Either way, he understood that His Majesty wanted to monitor the second prince. Felix was a capable man who had gained the trust of nobles everywhere. Above all, he had the backing of Duke Clockford, the most powerful noble in the country. It was obvious he was seen as the next king, but to Louis, he was an enigma. Felix couldn't be beaten with simple tricks. He was too cunning, hence why Louis loved to bully the strong. Of course, Rin now saw her master as a troubled man who enjoyed bullying the strong. Back in the student council office, Elliot grumbled about cleaning up after Professor Thornley. Cyril reminded him that with broken trust, they had to stay sharp. Felix asked Monica to greet the club leaders on his behalf. She panicked, feeling this was impossible, but Cyril offered to go with her. Everyone was surprised he was offering. However, he said Monica deserved to be introduced as the new treasurer. Nervous, Monica forced the words out of her mouth. "I will do my best." She and Cyril then proceeded to greet the club leaders. Okay, things seem to be going well for Monica as both a bodyguard and the student council treasurer. What trouble will she have to deal with next? Keep up with next week's part by subscribing to my channel. For now though, watch this next video. It's me, ComfyTea. I'll see you all in the next one.